Hello everyone, this is Bobby Blanchard, and I am the Texas Tribune's social media editor. Thank you for joining us on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, or maybe our website, wherever you might be watching. We are today streaming the start of the Texas Legislative session. Today is the first day, both the House and the Senate convene at noon. We're going to be focused primarily on the House today because that's where we expect the news to happen, so to speak. Today, lawmakers will be selecting a new House Speaker, and we believe they're going to be most likely selecting Speaker Bonin. Everything goes according to their plan. We are live here. We can see your comments. We can see your questions. Hi, Mary from Cedar Park. Thank you for joining us. Be it on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. So please just ask us questions. In a couple of minutes, I'm going to be bringing in Emily Ramshaw here to join me in this room, and we will be taking your questions live then. So if you have any questions, please let us know in the chat, wherever you happen to be watching. I see Valerie is here watching and is curious about public education, and we will be definitely talking about that a lot this session. Valerie, if you want to be following that, I recommend following Aaliyah Swaby on Twitter, and I can drop a link to her Twitter profile in the comments later. We're going to be doing this from live social all session long and live from our website all session long. We're really excited to be coming to you live, so please ask us questions, let us know how we can help you. We're here to help you stay informed and help you stay in the loop on the issues that you care about. I'm going to go away now, but I'll be back in a few minutes. Thanks, guys.
I'm ready when you are.
Okay. Hi again, this is Bobby Blanchard, and I'm joined by Emily Ramshaw, Editor-in-Chief. Emily, thank you for joining us live today.
My pleasure. Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
So, Emily, how much actual lawmaking is going to get done today?
Basically zero. So the point of today really is ceremonial. We have legislators who are showing up for their first day back. Obviously, the House has a big deal. It has the Speaker's election. We can talk more about that in a moment because the deck is already stacked there. But largely, this is just their sort of first day to gavel in, and no, laws actually don't get made or passed for quite a few months.
It's more like the full day of school, right? They'll all be taking pictures, kids, families, wives, husbands.
Exactly. A lot of pomp and circumstance. A lot of people in the gallery back for the first time in almost 2 years, and so yeah, it's an exciting time.
So there is some news to be made today, depending on whether you consider it news, and that's the election of the new Speaker of the Texas House.
Right.
We expect it to be Dennis Bonnen. How much of that is a done deal?
It's almost entirely a done deal. There have been previous years where this has been a little bit more exciting because there's still a little drama going into the final vote. In this particular case, we know that Dennis Bonnen is the presumptive speaker. This has been negotiated now, worked out for a couple months at this point. So this really, in the event something crazy happens, that might all get thrown out the window. But the chances of that happening are basically zero.
So what do we know about Dennis Bonnen?
Longtime member of the Texas House. At some point he may become a lifer. He is really deeply involved in the legislative process, has been a close lieutenant ally of Joe Straus, the longtime Speaker of the House, longest serving Speaker of the Texas House. So they have a terrific rapport and relationship, and I think a lot of people are expecting sort of more of the same from Dennis Bonnen. Now, I will say that it's important to note that he is believed to be somebody who has quite a different personality from Joe Straus. So historically, he's been sort of a guy who's not afraid to make a fist. He's been sort of a bomb thrower. He has not hesitated to tangle with the Senate or with Dan Patrick, and I think that could be telling for us as we head into this legislative session.
So what can we, expect from the relationship that might change this session?
It sort of depends on the issues. I think one thing that's different heading into this legislative session is that we are not expecting some of the same sort of deep red social conservative issues that got some traction last session. For example, we aren't heading into a session where people are talking about the bathroom bill being a really big deal. And, there were some big issues last session, immigration, sanctuary cities is another. These are things we're not hearing as much about this session in the lead up to this session. And so if we're not touching on those kinds of issues, the relations with the House and the Senate may be better than they've been in the past. Joe Straus really wanted to avoid those kinds of issues. It's possible relationships could be better. That said, if we get really tangled up over property taxes or over school finance, it's possible these two chambers could be at odds again.
And so we have a lot of people asking in the comments about school finance and stuff like that. If you have questions, please leave them in the comments. You may not see us on the video right now, but our voiceover is still coming through. What should people be expecting from school finance this session? What are the solutions if they'll...
It's still pretty early to know. There is a school finance commission that's been working really hard to sort of find ways to make spending on schools in Texas more equitable while also taking some of the pressure off of local property taxpayers. Governor Greg Abbott has had his own solution that was thrown out there. I think, again, it's early to say, but I think you'll see a whole bunch of recommendations that the legislature is considering this session around how to reform school finance in Texas.
I'm seeing a question from Jay about the rainy day fund. What are the odds that they actually break into that rainy day fund and use it? It's gotten quite big now.
So there was a revenue estimate from the comptroller yesterday. This is basically the way that the session kicks off, is a conversation about how much money they have to spend. And the comptroller basically said we're looking at revenue of around, I believe it's $118 billion that you're looking at for this upcoming session. And the rainy day fund is in the $12 to $15 billion range. It is unlikely, I think, that they are going to need to tap it necessarily, and I think that that's because the message they got from the comptroller was, hey, FYI, the budget's going to be looking pretty good, this revenue is going to be looking pretty robust this year, but we could be in for an economic storm. And so he says to them basically, temper yourselves, be careful what you do, because while this year is good, upcoming years may not be so robust. And so I bet you see lawmakers saying, you know what, the comptroller is predicting a rainy day, we better hang on to that money for a rainy day.
Even though we had a rainy day 2 years ago in Houston when the streets flooded?
Conservative lawmakers have been very loath to spend anything out of the rainy day fund. They really like to make sure that their coffers are as full as possible. And so I think it's possible it could get tapped a little bit for a school finance solution, for a property tax solution, but I bet you see it stay largely intact.
Now, I'm seeing 2 questions in the Facebook comments. One about cannabis oil and marijuana legalization. Mm-hmm. What kind of appetite, if any, is there for this session from lawmakers?
So there's been a lot of talk heading into the session about further ways to decriminalize marijuana, and in particular ways to make medical cannabis more accessible to people who need it. Right now it's available in Texas to a very small subset of the population. It's still pretty difficult to get your hands on. And so I imagine you'll see a legislature that is more conducive to finding more ways for people who need it medicinally. I also think you're seeing a lot of allegiances on the right and the left when it comes to criminal justice reform. This is one area where Republicans and Democrats increasingly agree they want to lock fewer people up. So there could be some movement this year around sort of the lesser criminal penalties for small-scale marijuana use.
Okay. I know you got to get back to work, so I'll let you go soon. But before you go, if someone wanted to stay in the loop this session, a reader, an average Texan, someone that's not like us and obsesses over this stuff every day, what should they do?
Well, in addition to reading TexasTribune.org, there are some really good ways to stay up on things that are sort of not in the nitty-gritty. We have a morning newsletter called The Brief that is really sort of a high-level look at the things you need to know. If you're more of a political insider, you can subscribe to The Blast, which is our really phenomenal politics and policy evening newsletter. So there are a whole number of ways, but I think, watching these live streams, in particular, watching Bobby break it down for you in his, quiet golf voice, the whisper that he'll do for much of the session, telling you what's happening behind the scenes is really, really useful. So, and follow us on social media.
Well, thank you, Emily. I really appreciate you making time.
Yes, my pleasure.
We're going to go for now. I'll be back again in a few minutes. If you have questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll answer them the best I can. If I can't answer them, I'll find the reporter in the newsroom who can, and there's going to be a lot of questions like that. But thank you so much.
Will everyone please take their seats? In accordance with the laws and Constitution of the State of Texas, I, David Whitley, Secretary of State of the State of Texas, call the House of Representatives Legislature of the State of Texas to order. As we begin today, let me remind you that under the terms of conduct for the House Chamber, the presiding officer is charged with preserving order, including in the gallery. As we begin today, let me remind you that under the terms of conduct for the House Chamber, the presiding officer is charged with preserving order and decorum, including in the gallery. As we begin today, let me remind you that under the terms of conduct for the House Chamber, the presiding officer is charged with preserving order and decorum, including in the gallery.
Hey guys, I'm sorry we're having some video streaming issues right now. I'm working on fixing it as soon as possible.
Fallon, Hall, Hancock, Huffman, Johnson, Nichols, Paxton, Powell, Schwertner, Sulliger, Watson, West, Whitmire.
Will the senators-elect please rise for the oath of office administered by the Honorable Nathan Heck, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Texas.
Okay, everybody, this is Bobby Blanchard talking to you right now. I am sorry about some of the technical problems we've had. One of the House stream is currently down at the moment, so we are bringing you the Senate stream instead. As soon as we get the House stream back, we'll probably switch back to the Senate. Unfortunately, something is wrong with the House stream. We don't know what it is. But we're in the Senate. Well, a bit of news actually is happening, which we don't always expect in the Senate. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick is not here today. We normally don't get a lot of news in the Senate on the full day, but he's not here today, which is unusual. We were just told that he is currently at the White House. So, we are currently streaming the Senate. If you have questions about the ledge or anything else, please let us know in the comments and I will answer them. Right now, we are swearing in senators. Senators have just been sworn in, as you can tell by the clapping. And I'm going to keep an eye on the House feed. And as soon as we get it back, I want to switch over to that because that is where we expect a vote on the Texas House speakership to be made today. So please stick with us.
Congratulations, new members, newly elected members. A quorum is present. Members, help me thank Justice Nathan Heck for assisting us today. Judge, thank you. And thank you for all you do, Judge. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please also help me welcome our First Lady of Texas, Cecilia Abbott, right here. Cecilia. And now it is my pleasure to introduce the governor of the great state of Texas, the Honorable Governor Abbott.
Thank you all. Thank you all, and Senator Nelson, thank you. And let me start out by expressing my congratulations to everybody who just took the oath of office, whether you are here for one of many sessions that you've been in service or whether or not you were just newly elected. This is a monumental moment, both for you as well as for the people of Texas. So I congratulate everybody who just won election or re-election. Those are rigors that are very tough on individuals as well as families. But they are rigors worth paying the price for the very reason why you are here. I congratulate all the family members and friends who gather with you, whether they are seated by you or whether they are seated above us or whether they may be outside the room, because one thing we all know, we don't have the opportunity to come in here and serve without the love and support of so many family members and friends across the entire state of Texas and maybe even beyond our borders. But we're here today at the very beginning of a very monumental time. I want you to think for a second, if you would, about the desks that you're sitting at. For some of you, you may have sat at that desk for years now. Others of you, you are seated at that desk for the very first time. Regardless, the fact is that desk holds so many stories about so much history that has meant so much in shaping the state in which we live. But the awesome thing about it is that the chapter of history that will be added to that desk in the next 140 days will surpass whatever has happened that's come before. I think what has happened already today is an auspicious beginning of the history that we will make. I'm going to say something that I've been told, and maybe somebody can fact check it later, but I think when we gavelled in today, with Jane Nelson being the person to gavel it in, is the first time in the history of the state of Texas that a woman gavelled in the beginning of an opening session in the Texas Legislature. If anyone says otherwise, they're just wrong. But those of you who've been elected by the people back in your districts, they put you here for a reason. They don't want you to come here and just occupy space. They want you to come here and make a difference. And there's so many things that we must do over the next 140 days that will make a difference in people's lives. We must address the challenges of shootings that take place in our schools to make sure that our schools are a safer place for our kids. We must respond to the damages and challenges posed by Hurricane Harvey as well as other storms. And we must address and face up to the challenge of mental health in our time that I know that Senator Nelson is leading the charge on. But there are other challenges that we must address this session. Challenges that will alter the arc of the future of Texas. Challenges that your constituents and our fellow Texans have been begging for the legislature to address in a solid way for decades, stretching back into the last century. And we are going to step up and address it. We are going to solve school finance reform and property tax reform in Texas this session. a decade or two from now, someone other than yourself may be seated at your desk. When they reach the desk you are in now, they will know the magnitude of the history made by you. And you will be an inspiration for future generations of senators to live up to the standard that you set this session. May God be with you and guide you over the next 140 days as we chart a course for an even better Texas. God bless you all, and God bless the great state of Texas.
Governor, thank you so much for joining us. I do know that you have...
All right, y'all, we're about to be going back to the stream of the Senate in a minute here. Stick with me. I will be switching the streams over right now. Sorry, we're going back to the stream of the House now. We were having some issues with the House stream earlier, but we are switching back over now. Reminder, if you have any questions, you can let us know in the comments. Just post them. And yeah, that's what I'm here for. Looks like we're still having some House stream issues, so we're going to stay with the Senate for now. Thank you for your patience, and if you have questions, let us know.
Court of Appeals, Carolyn Wright, 5th Court of Appeals, retiring, Josh Morris, 6th Court of Appeals, Yvonne Rodriguez, 8th Court of Appeals, Steve McKiffen, 9th Court of Appeals, John Bailey, 11th Court of Appeals, James T. Worthen, 12th Court of Appeals, Dory Contreras, 13th Court of Appeals, and Kim Thompson-Frost, 14th Court of Appeals. Thank you all for being here with us today. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Brandon. This is Bobby Blanchard. I see your comment on YouTube. No, we have not voted.
Okay, members, we are at this time going to stand in or at ease for 10 minutes pending the departure of our guests. Now, everyone's welcome to stay if you want, but I do know that it's tough sometimes sitting with a 1-year-old, or, you know, and there are some people that have other places they need to go. So we're going to take a 10-minute stand at ease. I know everybody wants to hug everybody and take some pictures, but I'm going to gavel back in 10 minutes for the election of our next President pro tempore. So we're just going to stand at ease for 10 minutes. Thank you.
All right, you guys, while the Senate is taking a short break, I'm going to answer a few questions I'm seeing in the chat. Brad, you're asking if there's any word on whether there will be a bathroom bill introduced this session. There's always a chance a bathroom bill or legislation that's similar to what that was considered in 2017 is considered again or is introduced again. However, we had a story on the website Monday that said that this session is starting off to a very different tone than what we saw last session. This session is starting off a lot calmer, a lot quieter, and it seems to be more of a, what I would call a meat and potatoes session. It seems like the people are going to be focused on is going to be school finance, property taxes, and that seems to be what lawmakers are mostly really focused on this session. And Logan, I think this answers your question on Facebook. If you had one thing to say, if you had to say one thing that seems to be the legislature's focus this session, what would it be? The big thing that people are talking about right now is school finance and property tax. Dennis Bonnen, the presumption Speaker of the House, if he wins vote in a few moments here, has said that his top 3 issues are school finance and property tax. He didn't forget a third one, only the top 3 he cares about. So that seems to be the focus for lawmakers this session is they will be talking about school finance and property tax. Hope that answers your question, Logan. Let's see. I'm seeing a comment on YouTube. What happens to the bills referred to committee before the members of the committee are set? I don't believe they'll be able to meet or to consider those bills until the committee is set. So I don't think anything. I could be wrong about that one. That's a procedural question that I actually have not gotten before. I'll ask Ross Ramsey about that later, Firebolt, and if I hear something different, I'll get back to you. Again, if you guys have questions for me, just let us know in the comments. I am multitasking here, so I'm also checking my phone and helping deal with reportals and helping deal with new stories. So hi, Logan. You bring up a good point in your comment. You say, thanks, we have local issues with that, and it seems that people want better schools, but as always, are not willing to pay more taxes for it. You know, Ramsey has brought up this point in his columns, and that being that it is difficult to imagine school finance without more money being spent to it. It's possible, you know, part of the school finance reform could just be formula changes. But if you want school finance reform and property tax reform to go hand in hand, that's going to take more money from elsewhere, right? So we'll be interested to see what Texas lawmakers do this session. Again, if you are joining us live, you can ask questions. The Senate is standing at ease while it cleans out before lawmakers start meeting again. Today is largely a ceremonial day. So we're not expecting a whole lot of news. We did get news moments ago that Dan Patrick is actually not here for the first day of session. He is at the White House apparently today. We are expecting the House to start electing Dennis Bonnen or electing a speaker, presumably Dennis Bonnen sometime soon. Lupe, you want to know why Dan Patrick isn't here? Let me pull up what Senator Jane Nelson said at the beginning so I get the exact quote right. 1 second. Again, the question for those of you who didn't see it, why is Dan Patrick not here right now? He was called by the White House to discuss some issues that are critical to Texas, is what Senator Jane Nelson said. Keep in mind that the president is expected to give an address on immigration tonight, so it could be very well about that, but we'll know more on that later, I presume. All right, guys, I'm going to appeal for a few minutes. If you have any questions, let us know. I'm going to go see if I can figure out what's happening in the house right now while our stream is down. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye. Alright, everybody, if you all joining us and watching the Senate and wondering where the Texas House is, that is a good question. The Texas House stream from the state of Texas is down right now, so we do not have it to give to you, unfortunately. I would point you to Cassie Pollock and Patrick Sievetek, who are going to be covering the House. Go to see them there on their Twitter accounts. I'm going to drop a link to their Twitter accounts in the Facebook comments and the YouTube comments if you're watching us there. If you are not watching us there and you're watching us on the live stream or elsewhere, I recommend their Twitter handle is Cassie_Pollock and Patrick Sievetek, last name spelled Svitek. In the Texas House, they have just done the oath of office for new House members. So according to their agenda, they are going to now be doing adoption of House rules and then adoption of the resolution for setting the procedures for election of the Speaker, and then they're going to begin they're going to begin debating who to elect Speaker. Again, we expect that to be Dennis Bodden. That seems to be pretty much a done deal now. Unless I just jinxed it for Dennis Bodden, but that seems to be unlikely. It's going to be Dennis Bodden. He has more than 100 commitments and might even be named soon. If you have questions about any of this, about the legislature, about this session, let us know. Drop a link in the comments wherever you're watching, be that Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. If you're watching on our website, that's a YouTube embed, so you should be able to go to YouTube to comment on the live chat from there. And I'm going to go away now again. There's a question on YouTube about, is the House streaming right now? I can't access the stream on the House website. So the House stream is currently down, unfortunately. I'm sorry about that. It's down not just for us, but for everyone. If you want to see what's happening in the Texas House, I recommend following Cassie_Pollock on Twitter. She is in the House. She is tweeted a link to her Twitter account right now and all of our comments. So yeah, go follow her. She knows what's happening. She knows what's up. She's there. There were no other nominations according to Patrick Sivtek for Speaker of the Texas House. So if you were looking for any last-minute drama, you did not get it. Again, I am sorry that we don't have the House stream for you. Nobody has it right now. It's not just us, unfortunately. If you have questions, though, let me know, and I will try to get answers for you. Manuel, you ask on Periscope, any insight on how GOP leadership goes about choosing which committee chairmanships go to Democrats? I do not have any insight into that. That's an interesting and good question. I will ask someone else on our staff that question. If I get an answer, I will get back to you. I see a question from Avery on Twitter. Are we expecting any emphasis on school safety and addressing mental health in schools? This was something that was brought up in the interim after some of the school shootings that happened last year. You know, it's kind of early to tell and hard to know if any of that stuff will get traction and if any of the legislation about those issues will move forward in any significant or meaningful manner. It is definitely an issue that we're watching very closely because we know there's a vested interest in it amongst Texans. If you have any questions, let us know. We are here to answer your questions. Bronia Thompson, a Democrat, is getting a nominating speak in support of Dennis Bonnen right now. If elected, he would be the 7th speaker she would serve under, lucky number 7 she calls him. She says that he is a man who keeps his word. hi Laura, I posted a link to a reporter, Cassie Pollock, that's CASSI_POLLOCK. There's a link in the comments on Facebook, that's what you were asking about her. If you go to her Twitter account, she will be providing not a stream, but live updates on her Twitter account of what is happening in the House. I am sorry we are not streaming it here. However, the stream for the Texas House is unfortunately down. We rely on that in order to provide this stream to you here. Right, it looks like the House feed is back. I'm going to go and fix that real quick. Give me 1 second, okay?
Days. Yes, please. On November 12th, Dennis Bonnen called a press conference, and at that press conference he said the speaker's race is over, and he unveiled a list of 109 names, way more than the 76 he needed. And since in those 2 months we've got a kind of a window into how Representative Bonnen, soon to be Speaker Bonnen, will operate. And there's two key aspects I want to look at. One was right after that press conference, he announced a working group to select the next parliamentarian. This is a very private decision for the Speaker. As far as we know in Texas history, this has never been done before, to allow members to have input on who the next parliamentarian should be. And so we appointed 5 Republicans and 5 Democrats. But it wasn't just that he had numbers from equal parties, it was who those Republicans and Democrats were. They showed a great cross-section of the House. On every line of the political spectrum was represented there. It even had individuals who were not on that list of 109 supporters that he had listed the day before. He made a great decision, and then he made another great decision by having Forrest Price and Joe Moody co-chairs we have in this House today. And they did.
Alright, I'm sorry y'all, we lost the House stream again. They were having some issues today.
Members, please take your seats. All right, the Senate's going to come back to order, and the chair would like to recognize Senator Taylor to introduce our Doctor of the Day.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, it's my honor today to introduce my constituent, Dr. Rebecca Hart, as our Doctor of the Day. Dr. Hart practices family medicine at South Shore Medical Center in League City. She earned her medical degree from the University of Texas Southwestern and completed a residency with the Baylor College of Medicine, where she served as chief resident. Dr. Hart is a former director of residency programs at the University of Texas at Houston and the University of Hawaii, a place I like spending as well. She also served as an associate director for the San Jacinto Methodist Hospital Family Practice Residency Program. She has previously served as the Academy of Family Physicians Harris County Chapter President and recently completed a term on the American Academy of Family Physicians Commission on Health of the Public and Science. Please help me welcome her to the Senate as our Physician of the Day. Thank you for being here, Dr. Hart, and thank you, members.
Yeah. Thank you, Senator Taylor, and Dr. Hart, thank you for being here to take care of us. Okay. Good. All right. The next order of business is the election of the President pro tempore. The chair is going to recognize the Dean of the Texas Senate, Senator John Whitmire, for the nomination. Senator Whitmire.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And that has a nice ring to it. I'd like to nominate Senator Kirk Watson as our President pro tem for the 86th legislative session. Senator Watson, I'd like to thank you for asking me to place your name in nomination. I'm honored, and it's a pleasure. And I want to thank you for your service. We really need you to be our President pro tem as I stand before you. Your character, your experience, the that I witness on a regular basis is what we need at this particular time. Unfortunately, the last year we've received some bad publicity, reflection on this body, which is not accurate. I could not be more pleased to present you to this body, to the state of Texas, as someone that loves his God, his country, his family, his colleagues, and you practice it, Senator Watson. So thank you for that service. And I could go back to your childhood. We know you had great parenting, or you wouldn't be on this floor today. And I wouldn't be making the remarks that I am. But I'm not going to go back to your childhood in Fort Worth. I'd like to start with Baylor, because I know you were a mischievous student, 1 through 12. But at Baylor, your law review editor, #1 in your class, at law school.
Okay, while the proceedings continue in the Senate, the Texas House is on its final seconding speech of Dennis Bonnen to become Speaker. There were no other nominations put forth, so it is very, very likely we're about to get Speaker Bonnen. Again, I'm sorry that we are not providing with you the House stream right now. The House stream is down. We expect Dennis Bonnen to be elected Speaker in a moment. You'll be able to read more about that news on our website at texastribune.org.
Be weird. But you also had vision. The people of Austin are benefiting from your public service this very day. The creation of the Dale Medical Center, which was your vision, along with others. Your improvement to the state hospital. I could go on and on. And then today, as a senator, I can't think of a better face to put on this Senate. Senator Kirk Watson. You're always one of the most prepared senators. You work across the aisle. Really make this body. You make each of us as senators better senators. You certainly have made me a better senator by having you on the Senate floor and being a colleague. It's
kind of like a never-ending. There's always a million tasks to do. It's
before I close,
perfect breaking news moment in that there's
fact,
always
let me
something else
point
to
out
do and to be watching.
how proud you are of your family, Liz, Preston, Cooper, your daughter-in-law and grandchild. I mean, that's what I want people to understand we're about as a Senate. I love this body. I've spent my adult life, practically my entire life. And it concerns me that people do not realize we have outstanding men and women on the Senate floor. They give of their time. They're totally dedicated to public service and understand, as you do, the reason we're here to make improvement in our state and to people's lives. Before I close, because there's others who would like to speak, I would like to take this opportunity, Kirk, to applaud you and use you as an example for our new members and those of us who are returning. You understand and you demonstrate, and I would urge my colleagues to watch you on this Senate floor. You understand the role of a state senator. Let me elaborate a moment. I spent 10 years in the House. It's a great body. But they serve 2-year terms. They have small constituencies. They're designed to react to the issue of the day. Kirk, you do such an outstanding job of realizing we're supposed to be the deliberative body. We get 4-year terms for the fact that we don't have to worry about that election in 2 years from now. We look for, as you do on a regular basis, the unintended consequences of proposals. We slow things down. You use the rules so effectively. So I could spend the rest of this morning talking about how much I appreciate Kirk Watson and how lucky this state is, your district, and this Senate chamber and body for having you as one of our colleagues. Madam Chair, I'm proud to place a nomination Senator Kirk Watson from District 14 as our President Pro Tem for this 86th district. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Whitmire. Little aside, I have to tell you, when the Lieutenant Governor asked if I would preside today, my first reaction was, I want to second the nomination. How do I do that from the chair? But I'm in the chair, so I guess I get to recognize myself to do that. It was very important to me, Senator Watson, to be able to second the nomination for your pro tem. And Senator Whitmire, talk to everybody about the attributes and the experience that Senator Watson brings. He served at so many levels of government. I remember when it was the Air Quality Control Board back then, and now it's the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. He was an Ann Richards appointee to that. Then, as was mentioned, he became mayor of Austin and was a fierce advocate for transportation improvements, for revitalization of downtown, and of course now he's a senator whose experience in all those other capacities brings so much to our chamber, because he provides that special insight into how our local governments work. But I have to tell you, what I love most about Senator Kirk Watson is he's a fighter. And I love that, Kirk Watson. And some people in here are saying, wait, she's a conservative Republican. Why is she loving the fact that Kirk Watson's a fighter? First of all, let me tell everybody, you don't realize that I'll bet 90%, probably more, of what we do in this chamber is...
All right, we got some breaking news. Dennis Bodden has been unanimously elected House Speaker. Not a big surprise, but news nonetheless.
Health and the safety of all Texans. And I want to just give you a couple of examples of Kirk Watson fighting. Years ago, in 2007, I had a bill that would create the Cancer Research and Prevention Institute of Texas. And you probably know, Kirk Watson is a cancer survivor. I think both your parents were cancer survivors. And he is passionate about cancer research and prevention. And so when we created this, we call it CPRIT now, but Cancer Prevention and Research Institute of Texas, nobody fought harder to make that a reality than Kirk Watson. And today, that entity has proven so successful. It has made Texas a world leader in cancer research. And if it hadn't been for Kirk Watson, we wouldn't be there. We attract talents from around the world that are conducting groundbreaking research to find a cure for cancer, as well as the prevention components. None of that.
The vote on Dennis Bodden was 147 ayes, 0 nays. Only 147 ayes because 3 seats are currently empty. So he won without any opposition.
Transportation, health care, including mental health. He says a refrain that we've heard so often, I can repeat it from memory. Kirk Watson says that he wants mental health to be treated just like heart health. And I agree, Senator Watson. Through funding, he helped secure, I think Senator Whitmire mentioned, the Dell Medical School right here at UT. We're training doctors to treat mental health on a continuum of care, just like any other disease. Kirk Watson. I could go on and on about his many accomplishments, but, you know, Kirk Watson actually grew up. You met Liz there, right? In Saginaw, my district. But his home and his heart right now are in Central Texas. He loves his constituents, and he comes here to fight for them every single day. Senator Watson is in a unique position of representing Austin, Texas, where our state capital is. So his district includes many of our Capitol staff, employees, and for 140 days, we're here with you, Senator Watson. We appreciate your hospitality. You're a great host, and you take great care of us when we're here. We know when we head back to our district, Senator Watson keeps our Capitol home fires burning. But I have to talk about what I consider to be your greatest achievement, and they're sitting right around you. He is going to celebrate his 40th wedding anniversary with Liz. High school sweetheart. They've raised 2 terrific boys that we've watched grow up, Preston and Cooper, and I know you all are proud, proud, proud of your dad. Last year, Senator Kirk Watson became a member of what I consider to be the most important caucus in this body, and that's the Grandparent Caucus. She's here with us, right? She is just darling. Effie was brought into the world last year, and it gave Senator Watson a whole new reason to fight to make the world a better place for all of our grandchildren. So Kirk Watson isn't just a great senator. He is someone I am proud to call a friend, and it is with pleasure that I second Senator Whitmire's nomination for President pro tempore. And now I'll recognize somebody else. See, I made it through without using my Kleenex. I know. The chair would like to recognize Senator Brian Birdwell to second the nomination. Senator Birdwell.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, I rise this afternoon to second the nomination of our colleague, Senator Kirk Watson, to be the President Pro Tem for the 86th regular session. When Senator Watson asked me to make this seconding speech, it wasn't because we were both from Tarrant County and spent time on Casino Beach in the 60s, many decades ago. But it was because he honored me with the opportunity to do this, to express many of the same sentiments that our chair today, as well as our dean, have expressed. I did tell him that, or I did ask him, what were his preferred adjectives for which he wanted me to describe him as. And he told me I was at my discretion. And as a career military officer, my two favorite adjectives are dirtbag and maggot. But because that is not an appropriate way to describe our President Pro Tem for the legislative session, I wanted to describe him in a different way. Members, the better description for Senator Watson is both as a valued ally and formidable opponent. Kirk and I have been both. We have both each been the victor and the vanquished on the issues of the day. Do we have our agreements and disagreements? Absolutely. But what I observed is his desire to make legislation the best that it can be, even if he opposes the desired end state of that legislation. Specifically on the floor of this Senate in 2015 during the 84th session, I carried the bill that is most publicly known as Campus Carry. While that bill would he would ultimately oppose that bill, of the 22 amendments that were offered to that bill, I accepted one, and that was his, because it made the bill a better bill. As my vice chair of nominations, we have jointly pursued holding those in the executive branch overseeing the various boards and commissions to be responsible for everything their organizations do or fail to do. Members, the rigor of work, sense of duty, and dedication of purpose all compel me to accept the honor of seconding the nomination of Senator Kirk Watson to be our President Pro Tem for the 86th regular session. God bless you, Kirk. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Birdwell. Chair recognizes Senator West to second the nomination.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, especially new members, and to some of the young adults here and children that are here. I rise today to second the nomination of my friend, my colleague, Kirk Watson. I do so and thank him for the opportunity to second the nomination at a time in America where we need persons like Kirk Watson. Young people, he prepared himself to sit on this floor as a senator.
Okay. Like I said, Dennis Bonnen was elected Speaker of the Texas House moments ago. What's happening here in the Senate right now is State Senator Kirk Watson is being nominated for being Senate Pro Tem. It's mostly an honorary position, but if for some reason Governor Greg Abbott and Dan Patrick are out of the state on official business or otherwise, Kirk Watson is basically the acting governor. So that's what's happening here right now. You may have heard this in the stream earlier. Senator Whitmire alluded to some bad press that the Senate got this past year. That was most likely about either Senator Uresti being indicted and then being convicted and giving up his seat, or potentially could have been about some more national news and local Texas news surrounding alleged sexual harassment in the Senate.
Kirk is one of the persons going to lead that charge. So you see, as he prepared for this particular day in his life, he built bridges. You know, Kirk is so persuasive, he even persuaded the voters of Travis County to tax themselves with the Dell Hospital. It's very persuasive. And needless to say that when it comes to issues here in our body, Kirk is called upon to provide leadership just like many of the new members will be able to do in terms of helping to resolve problems. Madam Chair is correct. Most of these issues are not about partisan politics. It's about what's best for the state of Texas. So as I second your nomination today, Kirk, I know that we are elected the best person for this particular job. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator West. Chair recognizes Senator Seliger to second the nomination.
Madam President, members, ladies and gentlemen, I think the reason that I'm giving one of the last of the seconding speeches is because Senator Watson was hoping that you would be asleep or at lunch now. But it is a very great honor to do so, and in all honesty, it would have cost Senator Watson way too much to get me to sit quietly at my desk during these speeches, and so it's a great honor to talk here. As you look around the room at these portraits, and you walk through the Capitol, look at all the portraits here, there's something very significant about those people, the greatest majority of them. They are people of enormous vision and moral courage and ethical standing. It's why they are prominent Texans. And those qualities are one of the largest reasons that we nominate today another prominent Texan who has earned that prominence. The story begins after what I assume was a somewhat misbegotten and callow youth when Senator Watson went to Baylor University. You don't finish first in your class at Baylor Law School just because you're so darn good looking. You have to be capable and smart and have a great memory. The fact that he married a Texas Tech graduate explains the intellectual capacity of that family, and I think that's an important thing to note. But after Senator Watson had done all that, he'd been president of the Chamber of Commerce here and things like that. When he was mayor, there was an issue of Texas Monthly that came out about that time, and it was quoted extensively, a major national business magazine, about the best pro-business mayors in the United States. And think about what it takes with the various interests in Central Texas and Austin. And Kirk Watson paid close attention to some of the most important elements in any city: transportation, utilities, electricity, livability, and affordability, at the same time getting a reputation that this was one of the best places in the United States to grow and build a business. That influence as mayor exists even today as you look around Austin. That is a rare sort of influence. Something else I would like you to contemplate as you look around this room in the portraits: how many people here on these walls do you think have ever zip-lined 50 feet over a crowd of 15,000 people in the Full Throttle Bar in Sturgis, South Dakota? Senator Watson has. There's a picture of the leather-clad Kirk Watson standing outside the Devil's Tower in Wyoming, and while his friends were assuring people that no, it was not a black leather alien invasion. The simple fact of the matter is, and I think in summary, is every endeavor in which Kirk Watson has engaged has been left better by his dedication and his insight, his ability to work with people toward a common goal, which is a better place to live and a better city and a better state of Austin. We are all honored to have as our president pro tempore my old friend, Senator Kirk Watson.
Thank you, Senator Seliger. Chair recognizes Senator Whitmire for a motion.
I would move that we elect Senator Kirk Watson President Pro Tem for the 86th session.
The question is on the election of the senator from Travis, Senator Kirk Watson, to the office of President Pro Tempore of the Texas Senate. Would all those senators in favor please rise? Well, I believe the motion carries, and Senator Watson is elected President pro tempore of the Texas Senate. The chair would like to announce the appointment of the following committee to escort Senator Watson to the podium.
Escort Committee for President Pro Tempore. Senator Campbell, Senator Hinojosa, Senator Nichols, Senator Zaffirini.
And when all the hugs finish, I'd like to ask that escort committee to escort Senator Watson and his party up to the podium for the oath of office. Escort committee, if you would escort our newly elected pro tempore to the back with his party and escort him up, we would greatly appreciate it. We've got to swear him in. He's not official till he's sworn in. Senator Campbell, would you escort our new pro tempore back there so we can bring him up here? All right. There you go. There you go.
Thank you so very much. Thank you.
All right, here you go. Liz, you're up. Thank you.
Won't you hold the Bible?
I, Kirk Watson, do solemnly swear
I, Kirk Watson, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office
of
President pro tempore
President pro tempore
of the Texas Senate
and
will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend
the
Constitution and laws of the United States and this state. So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And now, may I present to you the President pro tempore of the 86th Legislature, regular session, the Honorable Kirk Watson.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Madam Chair, Dean Whitmire, Senators West, Seliger, Birdwell, the Escort Committee, and all of my colleagues in the Texas Senate, I want to say thank you to each of you. I deeply appreciate not only the very nice things that the speakers said about me, but I also want you to know I appreciate the friendships and the relationships that I have with so many of you. I'm joined by my family, as has been mentioned, my wife, Liz, our children, Preston and Cooper, our daughter-in-law, Catherine, my brother Kyle is here with my sister-in-law, Mary Ann, and of course, there's Effie. I'm very proud of this family, and I thank them so very much for being here and for their support of my public service. And I want to say thank you to the people of Austin and Central Texas that have allowed me to serve in elective office for such a long time now. Liz and I ended up in Austin, Texas in 1981 thinking we'd only be here for 1 year. This town wrapped itself around us, and well, here we are some 40 years later. The people, the place, the passion, and the prospects of Austin and Central Texas still excite me. And it's neat to be allowed to be in the middle of so much of it. Now, this event is especially gratifying because when I came into the Senate, I was dead last in seniority. Dead last. And I told my staff at that time that that's what was going to happen. There were 5 new senators that session. One was elected in a special election, and he had seniority over the other 4 of us. Those 4 of us met with the Secretary of the Senate, Patsy Spall, right over there on the Senate floor to pick numbers, 4 numbers out of a red gimme cap. She went in alphabetical order. Then Senator Glenn Hager pulled out the number 1. Then Senator Robert Nichols, our current President pro tem of the Senate, he went next and he pulled out number 2. The Secretary of the Senate then said, Senator Patrick, will you and Senator Watson both pick at the same time? So we both reached into that gimme cap and pulled out our little slips of paper. Senator Patrick said number 3, and mine said number 4. Just think about that. If Dan Patrick hadn't left the Senate, he'd be President pro tem today. More than anything, this moment in time has me thinking about what it means to serve, to be a servant, about the thing that has brought us all into this special chamber. From a very early age, as has been suggested in some of the speeches, I knew I wanted to serve in some way. But it wasn't until my freshman year at Baylor when I first really found myself thinking about and understanding purpose, or why one should pursue certain pathways. It was the first time I really heard people my age talking about being called to do something. In fact, it was the first time I remember hearing the word calling as my classmates contemplated their futures. So this was new. It was frankly a little concerning. What was a calling? What was I supposed to do? Was the path I'd chosen the right path? And how would I know? The Bible tells of a burning bush that gave some clear advice. A burning bush? Our high school barely had a guidance counselor. So one night, I was talking to my father, and we were all on the phone, and I asked him,
I asked him about what this means, this calling that these kids were talking about. And Daddy said, hang on a minute. And he went and got his Bible. And he read me Romans 12, verses 4 through 8. For just as each of us has one body with many members, and these members do not all have the same function, so in Christ we, though many, form one body, and each member belongs to all the others. We have different gifts according to the grace given each of us. If your gift is prophesying, then prophesy in accordance with your faith. If it is serving, then serve. If it is teaching, then teach. If it is to encourage, then give encouragement. If it is giving, then give generously. If it is to lead, do it diligently. If it is to show mercy, do it cheerfully. Don Watson was a thinker. He was pretty devout, and he questioned, tested, and analyzed his faith constantly. He read and he studied, and he often came to very thoughtful, practical conclusions about how belief translates to action. Daddy told me to assess my desires, my strengths, the gifts that Paul references, and then do right with them, whatever they are. Your calling is in the gifts you've been given. God calls us to seek our purpose, to play our parts, and to trust that our gifts will be amplified when others play their parts appropriately. Of course, I got to say, it was also my father who started saying when I was in elementary school, boy, we've got to figure out a way for you to make a living with that mouth, otherwise it's just going to get you in trouble. So I will appropriately and respectfully defer to the will of the Senate as to whether it's a gift or a strength, but about the only thing close to what you might call a talent was that I could talk. I became a lawyer, and I sought opportunities to serve in that capacity, even in the way I practiced law day to day. There were other opportunities to serve, as you've heard today. Governor Richards appointed me to chair a state environmental agency. I was elected Austin mayor. I ran for Texas Attorney General. I lost to a guy, what was his name? Abbott. And then I was elected to the Texas Senate, where I was dead last in seniority. I have tried to follow Daddy's lesson, but simply following one's desires and perceived gifts and strengths doesn't make you a servant, any more than words create action. To get things done, as we all know, service requires urgency. My urgency was manifest over 25 years ago when I was in my early 30s, when I was told I had metastatic cancer. I went through chemo and 3 surgeries, and we hoped I was okay. Then a couple of years later, they found another tumor on a routine CAT scan, and I had another major surgery where they went in and field dressed me. The last treatment of any kind was back in 1995. I am deeply blessed to be a survivor. Another gift given out of grace. There's a reason it's a cliche to say that life is short. I sensed it before my cancer, and it revealed itself back then in youthful impatience. But my journey reminds me every day how short life is. And there's a gift in that as well. Among other things, it enhances empathy for those who suffer and have unfulfilled needs. Another gift of cancer has been the freedom to take chances, the freedom to pursue things in the right way without fear of consequence, the freedom to seek compromise or practical outcomes when some people demand only one way, the freedom to throw away labels and listen to a person, because even though we think we know all they believe, that label may not be really telling us everything we can or ought to know about them. And there's a gift in understanding urgency. Every minute we waste is gone. You all know that. In one sense, we feel it every session. We're not here just to be here. We're here because there are things we're compelled to accomplish and we have very little time. 140 days to accomplish them. If pursuing our gifts, strengths, and desires is what we're supposed to do, then urgency is how it gets done. But what is it? What gets done? What do we do? What does it look like? Calling and urgency makes us servants. Priorities give shape to our service. My priorities, honestly, probably haven't changed that much over the time I've been in the Senate or even since I was first elected to office. Education, health care, equal rights, government transparency, opportunity, and of course, you know, you're going to hear me talk about them some more over the next 140 days. But you'll probably hear me talk about them a little differently. And you can call that the Effie effect. A minute ago, and as has been pointed out, since we were last together, I became a grandfather. And I'm not afraid to say that my single favorite constituent is a 13-month-old named Frances Ellen Watson, and we call her Effie. I love Texas. I'm so proud to be a part of this state's history and so grateful of the role it's played in mine. I appreciate so much the good, decent, hard-working people of Texas. These Texans, the ones who are here and the ones who are coming, have always shaped the priorities I've brought into this chamber. But I will confess to you, Effie highlights those priorities. She's made them more real, more immediate, more personal. She has her whole life ahead of her, and the decisions we make over the next 140 days will shape that life. But not just Effie, of course. Our decisions between now and May will touch 28.7 million Texans. More than 7 million of them are children, just like Effie. Their whole lives are ahead of them too. Now, while those children may not be one of our actual children or grandchildren, they're all our children. Though they are many, we are members of the same body. And each member belongs to all of the others. They are ours. What will our actions mean to those dear, sweet, essential Texans? Of course, Texas is a beautifully diverse place. So we don't all come in here with the same set of priorities. That's more than okay. That's how this system is supposed to work. But it's reassuring to me when those differing priorities all rise from or out of our own individual personal versions of the Effie effect. Our priorities must be driven by their effects on all of our people, especially the people who will define our future. It's how good faith principles lead good servants to the common good. It's how this chamber of servants from different places and different experiences truly succeeds. Not in spite of our differences, but because of them. So I end where I started, and Don Watson's encouragement. We're all servant members of one body. We rely on one another. Each belongs to all the others. We're all called. We do our best to do the right thing, and we should try not to waste time doing it. Let that be the legacy of the 86th regular session of the Texas Senate. I pray that it is. Again, thanks to all of you for your service and for this honor. Thanks again to Liz and my family. Thanks to the people of Austin and Central Texas. God bless you, and God bless the people of Texas.
Hey, this is Bobby Blanchard. I am here to answer questions. I see there are a few questions in the comments right now. Somebody on Twitter is asking, I'm a little late to the stream, why is Senator Watson up there and what's this about? Senator Watson's been elected the President Pro Tem of the Senate Chamber. It's a largely ceremonial role, but if the case that Abbott or Patrick are out of the state, he will be the acting governor.
All right, the following motion in writing.
Motion to waive media policy. Madam President, I move that the Senate's media policy be waived.
Okay,
in
guys,
order
with
to
that,
allow
I'm
Senator
going to
Watson
end the stream
to
for
have
now.
recorded video of today's session.
Thank you for watching.
I also move that all the remarks made
I'm
during
going to come
today's...
say hi in person real quick here. With that, you guys, I'm going to end the stream for now. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow, or maybe we won't be back tomorrow. We'll be back this session. We'll be back a lot this session. We'll be answering your questions, talking to you, expect, and it's going to be a great time. Thanks so much, and talk to you guys later.
Concurrent resolution number 3 by Whitmire, providing for a joint session to canvass the votes for the governor and lieutenant governor and for a joint session for the